Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Gavin Courtney.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
It's a beautiful morning this side, nice and breezy up here.
That's right.
Yep. And
it would be such a great day to just spend outdoors.
I know, but if it's anything like yesterday, it might be pretty hot again because I was outside and.
That's true. That's true. It's just the early morning where you get this nice cool breeze coming in.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of heat, we were talking just before we got started about the sleeping giant, and it seems that the mystery has been solved. So if you have been keeping up with the news, you might have heard the latest. Everybody was speculating for the past few days about what was causing the smoke.
Yeah.
From the sleeping giant, and it seems that the mystery has been solved, and that well, surprise, surprise, fire is the cause of the smoke.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because it was almost a week of pure speculation as to what could potentially be behind the smoke that was seen. You know, at one point they were saying it was either smoke or steam. And after investigation over the weekend, the Forest Department has confirmed, in fact, that it is smoke that's coming out of the sleeping giant, and that's because there's a fire in basically the bottom layer of the space there. So. Yeah, there we go. You know, it's interesting, though, because I was trying to figure out, it seems very anticlimactic to now know that it's a fire. But it was because very early on, one of the things that was floating around was because we had had so much rain last week, that would have put out any fire that would have been in the area. But apparently that wasn't the case.
Yes, and so as of course Marlene said, it seems to be at least the fire is burning on a layer that isn't immediately visible. So that was what was causing most of the speculation.
Yeah.
But as you know, as we can see that this is the result. So there's no volcano. There's
no meteorite that crashed.
No, nothing like that. So
yeah, I think the volcanic activity is definitely one that we're happy to put to rest because that was a very scary thing to consider. And you know, in these times, it just feels like anything is possible, even if people tell you otherwise. But you know, we've actually talked about this before. I know with farmers who work in fire and in outing forest fires. And one of the things that is very common is that when you have had a storm pass through an area, and I remember this being explained, that the year after there's a higher potential for forest fire because all the broken trees and limbs fall down, they dry out, and then you just have basically like more potential for fires to grow. They do, of course, have to find a solution so that they can be able to stop the spread of the fire, one, and to get it under control. But it is very deep, of course, in the jungle. So much so that it took them a couple days to coordinate everything and a couple hours to get to the location itself. But there you have it. Belize's greatest mystery of 2021 is solved. It is smoke coming from the sleeping giant, and it is, in fact, because of a fire. I think they've said that the source is most likely a lightning strike. There you go. Are you disappointed?
No, well, I mean, In a way, but I didn't want anything worse to happen, because if it was a volcano or something, then of course you might have the first instance where you think like, okay, this is cool, but then like after maybe 5 seconds you think, oh my God, there's a volcano, what are we gonna do? Or whether it was some sort of I think there was also a theory I saw about whether it was some sort of gases like sulfur or something coming from underground. And I don't know what the implications of that would have been. So luckily we don't have to find out.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say so. I'd use the word that you used just now and say it's a little bit anticlimactic, but we are at least it seems that it's something that perhaps we can manage.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So that's the update on the sleeping giant, and of course. There's a whole lot happening in the political world as well. Yesterday, the media received a letter that is to be delivered to the Governor General today, and that is signed by 3 parliamentarians on the opposition side, expressing that they no longer have confidence in the party leader and leader of the opposition, Honorable Patrick Faber.
Yes, that is of course a very serious development if it is that the letter is sent, because as you may know, if you have been watching the news for the past couple of weeks, there has been a lot of turmoil internally within the United Democratic Party, and it surrounds of course the leadership of Patrick Faber as party leader of the opposition, and it seems that he has been in this sort of tumultuous situation for the past few months. There have been lots of rumors, lots of speculation about what is going on behind the scenes, but those speculations, were all but confirmed in the past couple of weeks when people have started to come out with public statements, and of course the most vocal is Shine Barrow, who is to have written the letter, which may be sent today, but expressing no confidence in the leader, and it seems that there is going to be a direct challenge to his leadership. We know that letter was delivered to the United Democratic Party's headquarters, where in almost 300 delegates did vote for the change of leadership. As that situation develops, because of course it is very important, and it does affect everybody, because leader of the opposition is a very important constitutional post. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that, because while automatically we get drawn into the drama of it, and without a doubt, you see the level of conflict that is taking place. But stepping back from your political colors, it's very important that we see that a strong opposition is a critical element in a strong democracy. And so it is very important that they kind of get their party in order so that we can have that level of representation in the House and in the wider public as well. The letter that was sent, or the letter that has been written to the Governor General, is actually signed by Honorable Shine Barrow, Honorable Hugo Pat, and Honorable Denise Barrow. What it does clearly say is that Honorable Patrick Faber no longer enjoys the confidence of the majority of the opposition members of the House of Representatives, and of course 3 does constitute a majority in this case, and they notify that the Chief Whip, who is Shine Barrow, enjoys the confidence of the majority of the opposition members of the House of Representatives. Where it goes from here, we can't definitively say, because this is, of course, a developing situation. The letter we received late yesterday evening, and as we closed off last week, we were looking at just a petition on behalf of party members. But now we're talking about actual elected officials putting in or registering their discontent and vote of no confidence in their leader.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, going back to that letter, another thing which was interesting to note is, as you just mentioned, that the expression of confidence in the leadership of Honorable Shine Barrow in the House. And I say interesting and surprising because he is not very senior in terms of his political experience. This is, of course, his first term. So he's been serving for less than a year. And it's certainly very interesting that none of the other parliamentarians seem to, or that there was no expression of support for them. Perhaps we don't know what's going on internally. But that was interesting to note from the outside, looking at what that situation may unfold to be as well.
And, you know, you're right. And I think that was a lot of the speculation that I heard over the weekend as well for people who were discussing this issue. It had more to do with who would likely be the candidate that would step forward as leader of the opposition. Now, the party chairman, Michael Parafit, Senator Parafit, has gone on record to clarify that, of course, John Saldivar is not eligible to be leader of the opposition. But it has to be a representative of the House of Representatives. So actually the roles can be separated. You can be party leader and you can have a leader of opposition.
In the House, yeah.
Yeah, in the House. So I mean, the two things at play here that need to be clarified. And of course, there has been no word from Honorable Patrick Faber. It has got to be an extremely challenging time for him. We know it all. The catalyst, or the tipping point, I should say, for this particular movement was a surveillance video that was released that showed him in a very angry moment with the mother of his child. And based on reports that have been made previously and concerns that were expressed previously, this seems to have been the trigger point that has led us to this moment. But yeah, people speculated that it would be Honorable Tega Panton or perhaps Honorable Hugo Pat, because he did put himself forward for leadership at one point in time. So it's kind of a curveball for some people that now the letter that has been sent now expresses that majority and the three persons we mentioned now have a vote of confidence in Honorable Shine Barrow.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have to see how that turns out, and I'm sure there will be more information forthcoming from these internal issues. And of course, I was doing just, on a personal note, I was doing research because this was a pretty interesting topic to me, and of course, nothing in politics is ever really that new.
Yeah.
So something interesting. So this has happened before, and the reason why I was researching is because I don't know. I think a lot of us might not even be familiar with what the term chief whip means, and it originates out of British politics, and it's primarily only used there. In some other countries, I think India and something, they use it. But what chief whips are really supposed to do is that they're supposed to ensure that in a legislative democracy, the parliamentarians and the Senate, they have to vote along in favor or against certain legislation, and what the chief whip is supposed to do is to ensure that people vote along party lines, so that nobody, quote unquote, crosses the floor, so that the party usually has, maintains one position on certain issues. It's not, but interestingly enough, normally the chief whip, it carries out the wishes of the party leader. Here we have one where, but this has happened. But in terms of history, this has happened. Something similar has happened before in the UK in the 1970s. In the Conservative Party, they had a party leader. There was an expression of no confidence from within, and this just similar where this was something from the UDP constitution. The mechanism was triggered for the challenge to the leadership, And while they were in opposition, the leader was changed from Edward Heath to Margaret Thatcher, who eventually did become prime minister in the 1980s. But we're seeing something very similar happen. So if you want to see how that, all the mechanics and how that played out, you can look up that situation and see what you can sort of yeah.
Well, you know, we're going to keep following. And of course, we look forward to hearing directly from of course, the UDP chairman has been the spokesperson so far, Honorable Shine Barrow. I'm assuming we may hear from him in regards to the letter. And Honorable Patrick Faber, of course, the man in the center of all of this, to hear how, or to see how he will respond to both the petition that has been launched with the party, and also this recent vote of no confidence coming out of his fellow members of the House of Representatives.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to move into our motivation for this morning, and that means it's time for our eye opener. And our eye opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. You can channel your pain into helping others and spreading a tide of curative energy throughout the world. Pain is a fact of being, and one that permeates all of our lives to some degree. The hurt we feel may be a part of the experiences that have touched us most deeply. We are often loath to let it go. It is frequently easier to keep our pain at our sides, where it acts as a shield and shelters us from others and gives us an identity, that of victim, from which we can draw bitter strength. However, pain's universality can also empower us to use our hurt to help others heal. Since no pain is any greater or more profound than any other, what you feel can give you the ability to help bring about the recovery of individuals whose hurts are both similar to and vastly different from your own. You can channel your pain into transformative and healing love that aids you in helping individuals on a one-to-one basis and spreading a tide of curative energy throughout the world. Your courageous decision to reach out to others can be the best way to declare to yourself that the world, that your pain didn't defeat you, and in fact, it helped you heal.
You know, this is a really interesting eye-opener, and I think that I definitely agree with the message, and I think it's really interesting because I think that when you do experience pain, or if you do go through a very difficult situation which has been painful for you, I think that after you get through it, just having had that experience gives you a different perspective, and it gives you an empathy which does allow you to reach out and to help others, because you've been you can use that experience, whether it's a similar situation or not. I really do also like that the eye-opener mentioned the fact that no pain is greater or lesser or more important than another. So when you have experienced something pain and you do see somebody else suffering, I think automatically because of that, because you know how that suffering sort of feels, you automatically want to reach out to them, and you automatically, just because of that empathy which is generated from pain, I think it's almost natural. And I think when you think about, reaching out to help somebody, I don't know, like the image that I get, or the most automatic response that I think that most people can relate to is when you see something happen to a child, right? Yeah. Automatically, it's like an instinct, and it kicks in, like, you have to go help them, or if you see a child crying or something, you want to help them, and you figure, something's wrong, I have to help. And you may not think about it, but, that's something that we all went through, because as children we scraped our knee, or even if we head, or even emotional pain, which is of course the other thing, and you want to reach out, and you definitely use your own experiences with pain to try to empower others and to get them through it.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I think moving beyond recognizing the level of empathy that we may naturally have to certain groups, vulnerable groups, children, I think it just reminds me of the power of our stories. You know, when you think of how when people give testimonials about something, how it impacts you, when they're able to share directly a challenge that they have gone through, how they overcome or how they're still trying to overcome, how we naturally gravitate to that type of story. And that's because there's a power in being able to build that connection between you and others. And, you know, we shield our pain, we carry it with us, but we shield it. We don't want everybody to know that it exists. We don't want everybody to know that we're carrying it. And we don't even know that the other person who may be sitting right across from you is doing the exact same. And so when you're able to speak about your truth, which includes your pain, naturally you give people the power to be able to share theirs, and also that they just feel a bit more comfortable in recognizing they are not alone. And so I think it's a powerful eye-opener, something that, of course, and especially when, you know, we get that sense that something is wrong with someone, it's really a great time to kind of just check in and acknowledge that it may be a time where you can share that side of yourself as well.
For sure. You know what I was thinking about as you were talking is that, you know, when it comes to like sharing experiences, I was thinking that when you watch a lot of TV, especially when you watch reality shows or competitions, usually no matter what it is, whether it's cooking, whether it's, you know, decorating or whatever, singing competition, there's always at some point where the contestant will share some sort of personal tragic story, and we talk about it. And I think that it's the same sort of thing at work, because it does allow the person to resonate with the audience.
You feel more connected.
Yeah. And of course it gets you so much more involved in their success, because, you know, you want them to be successful because they went through this or that. And
like the viral video that's been going around since last week, the cancer patient, Nightbird, I think is it America's Got Talent?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So I singing that song, It's Okay. I've gotten so many people who've shared it with me. And it's one of those things, you hear the story and you're like, wow. So yeah, that's a great example of how we connect with people and their stories. But let's connect with our weather forecaster for today and find out what we can expect. We have Catherine Cumberbatch on the line, and she's going to tell us what we can expect for today. Good morning.
Good morning, Marlene and Gavin. Good morning.
How are you today?
I am here. I'm not going to complain, but I think I'm okay.
I am happy to hear that. You're getting ready to close off your shift?
That's right. In the next, I guess, hour and 5 minutes, I'll be closing off the shift.
All right. So tell us what we can expect for today. The morning looks lovely, but what about the day ahead?
Yes, as you said, we have generally fair weather prevailing across the country, Marlene, except for the extreme south, where at nighttime and early morning we have some moderate to deep convective activity occurring in that area. Otherwise, for the rest of the country, you could expect mostly sunny skies and high temperatures ranging 89 along the coast, 95 inland, 84 in the hills. As for tonight, as I said, partly cloudy skies and the temperatures dropping to 82 along the coast, 76 inland, 70 in the hills. We only expect isolated showers and isolated thunderstorms, and as I said, then those will occur specifically in the extreme south of southern part of the country. Okay. What we are having now beside that is the wind tend to be a bit gusty.
Yes.
So we have a small craft caution is out for occasionally gusty winds and rough seas. So the winds will blow from the east to southeast, 10 to 20 knots with higher gusts. Sea state moderate to rough, and so we have this small craft caution that is out. And for the extended, which is up to Wednesday night, is for practically similar conditions to prevail. Activity confined mainly to the extreme south of our country.
Okay.
For the sargassum forecast, the threat of sargassum on our beach continues to remain high for the next few days. And in the tropical weather outlook, there's good news. No tropical cyclone formation is expected in the Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, or the Gulf of Mexico for the next 48 hours. So that's it. Generally fair weather prevailing.
Thank you so much for that update, Catherine.
You're welcome, my lady. Have a safe day.
All right. There you have it.
Yep.
So if you're living in the South, we've been talking about good weather, and it hasn't been quite the same for you. We apologize.
I know, but hopefully that does clear up in the next few days.
Yeah.
And if you are out on the seas today, do be wary of those winds which might get a bit gusty. There is that small craft warning.
All right. But we got to get moving into our show for today. And speaking of the South, there are some fantastic things taking place in two of our southern villages, Machakilha and Graham Creek. So 3 female solar engineers who traveled to India to learn this particular skill are now installing solar energy panels in these villages. So we're going to be talking to them as our first conversation for today.
And second up, we are going to be speaking with representatives from the National Committee for Families and Children, and they're going to be talking all about their Male Talk Forum. We're going to get the details of that forum in the second part of our show.
All right, and the third part of our show, we have a young woman who is joining us. She's a recent scholarship recipient for the Taiwanese Scholarship, and she's been featured in our newscast before. She is a burn victim. She also is an amputee, and she has fought her way to be able to continue on her career path, where she's now going to be pursuing her medical degree. We're going to introduce you to Damari Tessikum in the final segment of our show.
And that's going to be our show for this morning. And we are going to be taking a very short break. And when we get back, we are going to be speaking with the indigenous women who are doing some great work with solar energy when we come back. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
It's a fact that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime, while with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited plans beat the competition. Stop being measured and told when to use your data and get unlimited talk, text, and data. Experience the true unlimited plans with Smart. That's a fact. Make the switch and live smart.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
Since its launch, over 900 students have successfully completed the Social Security Scholarship Program.
I am Fatima Che, co-founder of Eltridges and Associates and owner of Fatima Archer Group of Consultancy Services. In 2009, I graduated from the University of Belize with a bachelor's degree in accounting. And I'm very grateful that Social Security had given me the opportunity by offering me a scholarship to pursue my career.
I am Renata Samuels. I am the Yearport Coordinator for the Department of Youth Services. I received the Social Security Scholarship for high school in 2010. Upon receiving it, I was beyond happy, thankful, and super relieved to know that I relieved my mom from the financial constraint of having to pay for my high school. It actually pushed me to work even harder to know that I am deserving of this scholarship. I implore others, apply for this scholarship. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain, as well as being one step closer to your own dreams.
The Social Security Board is committed to providing educational opportunities to persons on a mission to improve their lives and communities.
Hola, Tony.
Hey, Kevin, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasa?
Nada, le vine a buscar porque necesito comprar más mercancías de vasos y platos desechables para mi tienda de comestible. Me estoy quedando sin esas cosas.
No, hombre, fíjate que desde el 15 de abril no puedo importar nada de eso. Y se me acaba de terminar todo lo que tenía hace como 3 semanas.
Oye, pero nunca has estado sin esas cosas. ¿Qué está pasando?
Mira esto. Esta es la nueva ley que prohíbe todo el uso de plásticos no reutilizables. Esos son vasos, platos, cucharas, tenedores, todo eso. Desde 15 de abril de este año no he podido importar nada de eso. A partir del 15 de enero del 2021 nadie puede fabricarlo. 15 de abril 2021 nadie lo puede vender. Y a partir del 14 de julio del 2021 si alguien te agarra con eso, te multan.
Híjole, no sabía eso. Necesito cambiar algunas cosas. Les diré a mis clientes por qué esas cosas ya no están disponibles. Gracias, Antonio.
Así es, cuídate, man.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
we're back, and we're having some connection issues with our solar engineers in the south, but of course, we are working to get them on the line. But in the meantime, though, we're taking a look at, a deeper look, I should say, as to the situation in the sleeping giant.
So we are going to be showing a video right now that goes into the details of all of the solving of the mystery behind the sleeping giant. And so here's that for a look if you missed it from last night's newscast.
We can confirm that the fire was actually started from a lightning strike. If you recall, in June 8th or thereabouts, there were a number of thunderstorms throughout the country, but also in the higher elevation areas where the site is located, which is about 1,200 feet above sea level. It seems that strike basically triggered the debris to actually smolder.
Over the weekend, a team of 12 personnel from the Geology and the Petroleum Department and the Forest Department, joined by residents from the area, took the daunting trek to the site, crossing the Saboon River and taking the 500 feet elevation of the mountain range. Several tests were carried out, confirming that there was no volcanic activity.
The Geology and Petroleum Department did all the tests that it needed to do. One, in terms of testing for hydrogen sulfide, looking for radiation, and as well looking at the ground floor for any volcanic activity, looking for any molten rocks or lava, as we would call it. And I can confirm that those three basically came out negative. So there was no radioactive signs or signs for radioactivity, no signs of any molten rocks or lava, and no signs for hydrogen sulfide. What we did find was that the area was burning, it was smoldering. The debris, the organic matter, was about 2 feet thick in some areas, and the evidence that we saw was consistent with a lightning strike. We noticed that the organic matter continues to smolder. We also noticed some flames on the periphery of the area. We also got reports yesterday evening that the people that live in the surrounding area did see some signs of fire on the perimeter of the area that was smoking. So this is consistent with the fire, of course, and we fear that it might be starting to spread more given the weather conditions.
There is concern about the destruction of the forest ecosystem because the fire is spreading uphill. Outside of the smoldering detritus, fire could be seen at some points of the 1 acre plot that is affected. Chief Forest Officer Wilbur Sabida says that for now, they will allow nature to take its course during the next few days. If the situation worsens, however, other steps will be taken.
As you mentioned correctly, Dwayne, the fragility of the ecosystem is important to us, given that this is a forest ecosystem at the upper elevation. If left unattended, the fire will obviously burn everything in its path, and when the rain comes, we may have some erosion taking place, and we did witness erosion taking place in some areas that had already been burnt because of the rain that had passed through over the last week and a half. So as we move forward, one, we need to continue monitoring the situation. Secondly, if we see that the fire intensifies in terms of higher flames, and of course in terms of the rate of spread, because we already know definitively what is the area that we measured when we last went up there, then we will need to go into plan A, which is going out there and trying to put out the fire mechanically with our own manpower. Or secondly, if that is something that is too high risk, then we'll need to consider the other option, which is the use of helicopters to douse the area that is burning with water.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Was the explanation by Wilbur Sabito of the Forest Department talking about the fire at the Sleeping Giant. But we're going to move ahead with our programming for this morning, and we're shifting gears to focus on the National Male Talk Forum. And of course, this is being coordinated by the National Committee for Families and Children. There has been much talk about men's involvement in developing young boys and steering them on the right path, and also having male role models in society as well. So here to tell us more about the ongoing forums, we have Arthur Usher, who is a member of the National Parenting Task Force, and we also have Eli Romero, who is the Monitoring and Evaluation Officer at the NCFC. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
And thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
It's your pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
All right.
Likewise.
Thanks for the invitation.
So, Arthur, let's start with you and explain to us why there is a parenting task force and specifically having this male-centered approach.
Well, the Parenting Task Force is a initiative through the government, the National Parenting Task Force, and it comprises of varying agencies with mandates to bring Belize up to its 2030 goals in terms of the rights of the child and how best we can make Belize a family-centered country. And so, as a part of that, we cannot make the country or make the society a stronger society without engaging men and boys at varying levels, especially on issues that specifically concern the family structure. And so, as part of one of our activities for this year, we're looking at the Male Talk, which was last week, Thursday. And so the purpose again was to discuss some of these issues, these burning issues that have been plaguing conversations around men for years. And so we specifically discussed the issue of custody and the issue of what constitutes rape.
So when you talk about developing like your forum that you had on Thursday, you know, when we talk about men's representation, it's always a challenge in kind of broadening the perspective of men who are directly involved in their families or being a good role model. There's far more attention There's far more attention paid to men who are involved in negative activities. Let's shed light on that and how you think that has an effect on the overall structure in society.
Well, I guess we did discuss a lot of these issues and the negative imagery that is being portrayed about men throughout the country. And I wouldn't just say it's Belize, it's worldwide to some extent. We always joke that Mother's Day is more celebrated than Father's Day. Yeah. And that is a testament to our, I would say our cultural scope, right? So, like I mentioned to the men in the Male Talk, to me it's cyclical, right? So the more we discuss the negativity, the more we see negativity, and so it's on us to then show the positivity. There are a lot of men, a lot of boys out here who are doing great work, yeah, and who are going through the day-to-day and being who they are and leading and all these other things, but we very rarely see that side. And so I think the more we showcase that side, the more the cycle will then change. and then the more you will see more of that. And so I'm sure if we go back in our history, we will see that the present situation was not always the case, right? And so we have to always try to look back and say, okay, but how do we do it better, right? And how do we change the cycle in varying areas of society and how men are viewed?
As a young black man in Belize's society, would you say that things are moving in the right direction?
I really try to be so black and white with our directions. I wouldn't say right or wrong. I would say that there are areas that we need to change. The meal talk, again, discussion is something that that is important in order to change, right? So I think there are ways that we can discuss these topics and create change. I am disappointed in some of the things that I see on the media sometimes and generally around us as men, but it's not hopeless, right? I think that we have a lot to contribute, and we have been contributing a lot. For some reason or the other, it has been gone under the radar, and so we have to kind of make sure that we bring it back to light, not to take away anything from any accomplishments that women and girls have made, but at the same time, going back to a bigger focus, which is the family. The family constitutes men, women, kids. So everybody has to play their part and be effective in their roles.
And Eli, what is your view on some of this, and perhaps you can shed some light on the importance of having had a forum like this?
So as NCFC, we really try to tackle a lot of the issues that affect children and families from a root cause. A lot of what we had discussed during the forum was what are the social norms, because a lot of the reason why we are, in terms of a society, how we view men and their role in a family is a lot because of social norms. We're groomed from a very early age to be providers, but not much caregivers. And that's one of the things that as the NCFC, we really want to see how we can change that. When we look at the statistics at really how much men are actually involved in the lives of their children, in actual rearing, spending time with their kids, the numbers are really low. I think if I recall right, it's around less than 30% of men actually spend time with their children.
Wow.
Quality, active time with their children. If we don't change a lot of these things, then that tends to create that cyclical effect that Mr. Usher was talking about, that, oh, my dad was never there with me. So he was always working so that he can provide for us. Then we tend to look at it in a similar way. We're going to say, you know what, when I get old, I need to provide for my family. I don't need to be there once I can provide the financing that is needed for them to be okay. So we as men, we have this tendency to close ourselves. Actually, during the forum, I was running a joke with everybody that we had a prayer on the agenda from the very beginning, and I really wanted to see how it played out. Almost, you could barely hear any men even praying, and we were just an Our Father we were saying. But you can see that men don't really open up and actually speak out. And I was worried a little bit that the session would have gone like that. But once the conversation started, you started to see all these other things that they were really interested and very engaged in.
That's interesting to hear. Yeah, I think the natural stereotype that people have is that men don't want to talk about their feelings, or they don't want to talk about this type of stuff. So when you get together in a room, how surprised are you by the level of participation that you have?
Well, one of the reasons why I think we got a lot of participation, and we actually got this from them, is that there were no women in the group. So they felt comfortable. So that's one of the things that a lot of the participants mentioned, that they really like the safe space for men to talk. And it really express how you feel about specific issues. Like we discussed the issues in custody. And one of the main things that really popped out as a real eye-opener was that we don't know a lot of the rights as men. We a lot of times don't even take the time to educate ourselves in the legislation that affects us in relation to custody and rape and all of these things. So when we start to hear all these things in the media, we start to say, but it is bias. Men don't have any rights. And that's not entirely true. Men do have rights in terms of custody, in terms of marriage, guardianship. Even in recent changes that have occurred in the law, it has really been pushed to try to, as much as possible, make it gender neutral. So we really need to educate ourselves in what are the laws that affect us and how they affect us, and what are our rights as men, as caregivers, as fathers, as brothers and sisters, and all of these things.
How do you balance the approach? When you give statistics like what you just mentioned, I think you said about 30% of fathers report that they're actively involved in parenting the children. And then you have this very often generalization that men aren't as involved with the children. They're simply providers, not nurturers. And you talk about things like custody and looking at how people view men in the family structure. How do you balance the two perspectives? Because there definitely is some truth when you talk about lack of involvement, just merely by the 30% statistics that you speak of.
It's really hard because, like I mentioned, a lot of men spend more time in working. But that is slightly changing. We're getting a more balance now in our current society, whereby men and working are just as much as women now. But it goes back now that I think tackling the issue with men is one, but now in some cases we even have both parents not spending that much time with children. And a lot of it, I think, takes into, we put a lot of importance in providing services to our children. And that's not to say that that's wrong, because we want to give our children the best life as we can possibly give them. But sometimes we really need to sit down and think of the impact that the emotional, psychological parenting helps the child. The NCFC, and Mr. Arthur can talk a little bit more on this, is we have a parenting guide. And it's not a mother's guide, and it's not a father's guide. It's a parenting guide. And it is meant to guide the parent. And NCFC has actively been using this guide to facilitate training sessions with parents and future parents, so that they can look at the main, it focuses on 3 main areas, and how we can give parents a little bit more of skills to be better parents. The training guide is actually called the Art of Parenting. And that's one way how we try to really help people and really look at parenting as not just providing for the child in terms of actual meals and services, but actually the emotional part and all of these things that really are important, and that might help a lot.
And looking, sort of at the bigger picture, were there was there any expressions of what can be done to address a lot of these issues, or were there any, or did some of the participants talk about some changes that they would like to see in order to perhaps level the playing field or make to improve some of these experiences?
Definitely. One of the main things that was discussed, if we look at rape, it's often in the way how it's worded, and the funny thing about it is that all these laws were written by men. but it seems very gender biased in a perspective. If you look at women who abuse of boys, the law is a little bit blurry in terms of accommodating that, because it specifically asks for the men membrane penis within the law. So it has been revised some of those areas. So in terms of being it gender neutral, it is the description within the law is being broadened so that it can include everyone.
Yeah.
So that is what, as it relates to rape.
And that was a critical development that happened when they updated that aspect of the criminal code, right?
Yes.
Where for years, men could not be raped by the definition of rape that was used within our laws. So that was definitely acknowledging where there are weaknesses, even within the legislation, that exclude men. But I want to move the conversation forward, and Arthur, get involved here to share. There seems to be, and it could be that it's just that my awareness of it now changes as you gain more experience, but it seems to be that younger fathers, or fathers in general in this day and age, are a lot more involved, and they seem to understand and recognize the significance of building a relationship with their young boys and young girls.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, again, change takes some time, and we've been discussing some of these issues for some years, and it's basically over this generation's lifetime. And so they've heard different conversations, they've seen different experiences with family structure and how things play out. Plus, as Mr. Romero mentioned, there's a duality in terms of shared responsibility with the family structure. And so I think there's more of a, I guess, family team approach being implemented in terms of most families. Albeit it might not be nuclear, but even within a single father home, where there's the father is the mother and the father, he's taking on this higher level role and responsibility. So we do see a lot of changes in that area, and that's great to see. The idea again is now how do our laws catch up with some of these cultural changes? How do we protect both sides in terms of the situation, right? And so while the dad might be the main parent in the situation, single or nuclear, the law might still say that the woman has custody, right? And he cannot do certain things without her. And so, again, we go back to our main focus, which is what is best for the child. If the parents are divorced or separated and so forth, is it in the best interest of the child to always have that child with the mother, or do our research say that it's best to have the child with the father right now? And so we have to look at these things as what is best for the child, what is best for the children, and how do we move forward with their lives in the best interest of them. Parents and so forth would have to just comply.
And on the issue of parenting, I imagine that it might have also been discussed, just the issue of raising male children and, socializing them to, one, adapt to all the changes that are happening in the world and gender equality, but also sensitizing them, changing certain past ways which may have been harmful. Can you talk a little bit about that discussion as well?
In terms of socialization for a male?
Yeah.
We didn't touch a lot on that, but I think in our small group discussion, some of that came up. I would say generally, I kind of get what you're hinting at, but again, the discussion was not solely based around that. We are looking at some of these machismo stereotypes And how do we teach our boys to cry, to express emotion, and not view it as being less than a man. And so with some of these issues, how do you release some of that emotional energy and still retain, I guess you could say, retain your manhood. And so our society is kind of stern when it comes to this, and we have to change our behavior. Again, as anybody with any behavior change takes some years, sometimes generations. And so we have to be patient and be steadfast with our communication, steadfast with how we view certain things, how we speak to boys, and how we speak to girls to then accept that new approach from a man or from a boy.
That's such an important point. I'm so glad you touched on that. So that's two things. First, I want to ask you both directly. How different is your parenting style from what your father's was? And how do you think you were able, I'm saying because I know you're a bit more, Arthur, how did you make that change? Because you only learned to parent from how you were parented. What made you recognize that you would have a different style?
Well, if I were to go back in time, I would say it started from an introspection. A lot of times, we experience things in our lives and we can go one way or the other way in the middle. And so we have to kind of be a bit introspective in terms of what do I want to change and who do I want to be. And so just going over who you are, maybe once a year, sometimes people do it New Year's Eve. But you kind of just reflect a bit about what you want to be and what you want to teach. And so, and again, no one style is perfect here. A lot of times people ask for very specific answers that, they want to be kind of cookie cutter. It's not that. What works for you and what you want to achieve for your family and for your situation.
What would you say is the biggest difference?
The biggest difference in referring to
between how you were raised or how your father raised you versus how fathers of that generation raised their children versus today?
I would say listening. Like my dad's generation, there was less listening, and so I think for our generation there was a bit more listening to the child, and not directly with you're a child, you have to be seen and not heard kind of message. So we kind of give our kids a bit more voice when we listen and try to understand what they're saying. But one thing I believe that people should practice is that understand that your child might not be able to express exactly in terms that you understand, but they know what they want, right? And so give them the opportunity to say it, and then it's your job to kind of guide that from there. And that's what I would say in terms of the differences. Listening. And then acting, and rather than acting before listening.
That's just going back to kind of what I said earlier, that's a big, that's also a big change in terms of how we, raise and socialize children. I mean, just allowing them to have that voice, it makes a huge difference in how they express themselves and are they comfortable with other people and society in general.
And let's jump into the other issue, and we're touching on the hot topic very late in this segment, but a very key element as we talk about men and understanding their role in raising children, in building families and being active in families, is also ensuring that women are open and adaptable to them having a shifting role from what perhaps they perceived growing up. Let's talk about how that complicates the issue as well.
I think a lot of times in regards of the shift there that has been occurring, I think it's in the family itself there's been a shift. And it goes a little bit back to the question that was asked a little earlier in terms of what has changed in terms of the norms now. And like I mentioned in the beginning, we try to tackle the root causes. If we really look at average size of families 30, 40, 50 years ago, they're much different now. I think because of the changes that have been occurring in our society, the cost of living, and all other impacts to the life that has made that a lot of that shift. So the responsibility isn't now only men that are responsible as bread providers, but also the mothers are also very actively involved. So that shift, I think, brings that. I think that is one of the reasons why a lot of the parts in the legislation had to also adapt and change. As I mentioned, even the Family and Children's Act has seen recent revisions.
Yeah.
There are even new revisions that are probably going to come in the near future, because you tend to look at it and you say, you know what, I missed something. And one of the things that everybody, we should maybe take the time to learn is, what are laws under the Families and Children's Act? What are the rights that we have? Both parents now, they can both apply for custody. Both parents, male and female, can ask for maintenance. If the woman is the one who is the main caregiver and they break up and he's taking care of the child, the man can actually go to court and actually apply for maintenance. The problem that we have is that, one, as a society, we see that as the machismo part of us. Yeah. Oh, that's wrong. There's something wrong. A man doesn't go and ask for maintenance from a woman. Yeah. And society, and even maybe the service providers, where you go and make the report at the police station, they might make fun of you. And that might deter men from actually going and exercising their right. But I think that is still slightly, it's really hard to change social norms. Yeah. That's one of the hardest things that anybody that works in this civil society and social work will tell you.
I was going to say that's a similar scenario, and perhaps the more common one is domestic violence against men, where we know that oftentimes that there are instances where men are abused within the household, but they wouldn't make a report because, you know, it's embarrassing or it's difficult to go into any institution and say that, because it's not so much about the physicality of whether or not he can or can't protect himself, is whether he chooses not to. So, you know, you're talking about breaking down social norms, and Arthur, I think you said it earlier, this is not the type of change that happens overnight. It's like chipping away slowly and expanding the conversation to one of not man and woman, but just humanity in general and equality. Where do you plan to take this movement that has started?
Well, we have actually multiple movements. I think the conversation has been happening across the board. The National Parenting Task Force, we do intend to have other meal talks or other conversations. We also, with the NCFC help, plan to pick up the recommendations from each meal talk and see how far we can take them in terms of law, drafting better laws and more accessible, and making things more accessible for everyone. Yeah. So it's not just a talk shop per se. We do intend to make things a bit more tangible and have more conversations, and conversations in multiple areas. So not just within city, we will looking at the districts, and because the dynamics are different in each district, and so we have to get a conversation with men across the board to get a better feel for where we are. So it's the first, but it's not the last. The conversations were robust. You know, I want to thank the guys again because it was truly an eye-opening day. Yeah. We will be in touch with everyone. We got some other invitations from other men asking, you know, when again can you invite me? And so I think it's time for the conversation. And so we will be looking at it again and doing more and getting more information, getting more feedback. I think we call it a movement. I didn't see it as that, but yeah, in retrospect, it probably is a movement. And so we have to really make sure that we stay steadfast in our bigger goal.
Yeah.
And really moving things along steadily. Again, like I said before, it's not one day. It's something that's going to take some time, and we will be staying the course as it relates to our issues.
Nice. Well, thank you both for joining us this morning and telling us about your male talks. And of course, we do wish you the best of luck. I know people can follow along on NCFC's Facebook page, and they can get information for when these things are happening. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
All right. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we have the ladies who are solar engineers lighting up Southern Belize joining us in just a few. Please stay here.
Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
Smart continues to expand its internet coverage countrywide to help you live a smarter life.
Our villagers are very happy. They are pleased to know that Smart went the extra mile to put a tower in our village so that our villagers can get live stream on their TVs and they can get their kids doing their online classes. I want to say to Smart, thank you for making it possible for us to get internet in Gardenia Village. We really do appreciate it.
Smart continues to take the internet and mobile services to communities across Belize. Now save even more when you bundle your Smart broadband with Smart mobile services. Smart, bringing people together.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes. go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 believes on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
Since its launch, over 900 students have successfully completed the Social Security Scholarship Program.
I am Fatima Chid, co-founder of Eltridges and Associates and owner of Fatima Archer Group of Consultancy Services. In 2009, I graduated from the University of Belize with a bachelor's degree in accounting. And I'm very grateful that Social Security had given me the opportunity by offering me a scholarship to pursue my career.
I am Renata Samuels. I am the Year Report Coordinator for the Department of Youth Services. I received the Social Security Scholarship for high school in 2010. Upon receiving it, I was beyond happy, thankful, and super relieved to know that I relieved my mom from the financial constraint of having to pay for my high school. It actually pushed me to work even harder to know that I am deserving of this scholarship. I implore others, apply for this scholarship. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain, as well as being one step closer to your own dreams.
The Social Security Board is committed to providing educational opportunities to persons on a mission to improve their lives and communities.
We're back and we're moving into our second conversation for today. As we told you, we wanted to have a conversation with the 3 female solar engineers who are installing solar panels in villages in the south that did not have access to electricity, and that's specifically in Machalquilha and in Graham Creek. We have with us, joining us via Zoom, and I know the connection will be a bit of a delay. They're in Santa Elena. We have Miriam Chuck and Christina Chuck. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we have on the phone with us Florentina. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, first of all, ladies, we want to hear about your training itself, because that was such a wonderful first step in being able to have the project reach this point. So let's start with Miriam and Christina to tell us a bit about being selected to participate in the training.
Good morning, everybody. First, when it started, we were selected by our community, the Plenty Belize approach in my village, because we don't have access to electricity here. So that is why they choose to come here in my village to tell us about the solar. And 2 women have to go in India to be trained. And the community select us, me and my sister. And we went to India for 6 months. We have all the training there in India. We didn't know anything about solar, but thanks to Barefoot College, now that I know about solar, I can install, and we learn how to build the charge controllers and the LED lamp, the bulb that we use for the project, and the lantern. We all learn in India.
What were you doing before you went for this training?
I am a housewife, so I stayed at home.
How about you, Florentina?
I don't job.
Okay, sorry. I apologize. Florentina, how about you?
What do you want me to say, Mom?
Tell us a bit about what you were doing before you went for the training.
Oh, okay. Before, I used to stay home and feed my kids, or sometimes I go at the farm and plant some vegetables. That's what I do before.
Yeah.
And what was it like, just the experience of, traveling and actually studying in India for an extended period of time?
Well, when I went to India, the alcalde, the chairman, selected me from Santa Teresa. I was very shocked about this going to India, because I don't know where is the place. I don't know where to go. But the alcalde selected me, and one of my sons told me. He told me, he said, "Mom, go. You could, so that you could know something or learn something about the solar panels." That's what my son told me. He encouraged me to go. So I decided to go. I went to India, learning about solar panel, how to do charge controller, and I also learned how to fix parts for solar lanterns. I stayed there 6 months, and the training was so interesting for me. And from returning back home, I went in 2013 and then come back in 2014.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of myself, because I never know nothing about solar panels, but now I know how to install solar panels.
What has the experience been? Let's get Christina into the conversation. What has the experience been like putting the solar panels in the villages that didn't have electricity? I know you just completed Machalkilha. Okay. All right, Florentina, go ahead. You tell me, because we're having a delay with their connection.
The experience now, just 15th June, we went to Machakilha and worked there for the community.
Yeah.
We're gonna help our brothers and sisters, because in Machakilha there is no light, no electricity. So we went along, Miriam Chok and Christina Chok, the 3 solar engineers, can do the work, and we complete it. We finish, we take 5 days doing it.
Yeah.
The people are so happy when we install their solar. Each household gets solar. Some get 120 watts, 50 watts, and the 120 watts have inverter, charge controller, and the school too also gets 375 watt panel from the school and two business. And we complete, and we're happy to help our brother and sister in Masagilha. And Sunday we return back home. Thursday again we go in Graham Creek and install solar again for the community. Thursday. And I'm so happy and so very proud of myself that I have the skill for help other women.
Of course. It must feel really good. Miriam and Christina, you now, let's see if we can get you in. It must feel really good to be able to help these villages get access to electricity when they had absolutely none. All right, we seem to have really lost the connection now. Unfortunately, the solar energy provides electricity, but not stable internet right now.
It's got to be the next project.
Yeah, that's the next one on the list. But Florentina, let's just.
I didn't hear the last part you asked.
Oh, I was just saying, how does it feel to be able to get the villagers access to electricity when they have had none?
The people, the village, don't have no light, no electricity.
I just
But when I see the solar panel reach, the people are happy to receive their help, the help we have done for them, and each household receive their solar panel. And the people are so happy, glad to see us.
It was
exciting.
Yeah. All right. Well, it seems that we're unable to get a strong enough connection with Miriam and Christina. They are in Santa Elena in Toledo. And Florentina, you can be able to just share with us what has the response been like from, you said for your family, your son told you, he encouraged you to be able to seek additional skills and encourage you to go to India. The family is proud of you and your village as well?
Yes. Before I used to live in Santa Teresa, but I moved there. I come in PG because I'm a single mother and I'm struggling in life. So I moved from Santa Teresa because in Santa Teresa, no job. Yes, I have helped my village with the light. We put everything, and the solar board helped me. So I decided to come live in town, working in town because it's hard for me. At the first time when I went to India, my son encouraged me. And they're happy because they're proud of me because I have 3 sons. I'm just a single mother. But I went to India and learned and take the training about the solar panel, solar system. All my family, my sons, they're proud of me, and my sisters too.
And the next village up is Graham Creek.
Yes, Graham Creek. I'm happy again. I go in there Thursday.
Yeah.
We're going to work with the community, the people that side, like a Thursday living.
Yeah. And that is going to be a big step for the villagers as well, because it gives them access that they didn't have before.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Florentina, we appreciate you joining us this morning. And unfortunately, the internet didn't cooperate with Miriam and Christina, but at least we got to hear from you as to what this experience has been like. We wish you the best of luck. And your family is proud, and I think the rest of the country is proud to see what's happening in the South there as well.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Right.
And there you have it. Those were the 3 indigenous female solar engineers who embarked on such a great project to bring power to some of our very remote communities which don't have the best access to things like power. So we want to say thank you to them. But we are going to be taking another quick break, and when we come back, we are going to be speaking with Damari Tessicum, and we're going to be hearing all about her experience getting and the scholarship. So please stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
Since its launch, over 900 students have successfully completed the scholarship program.
I am Fatima Che, co-founder of Eltridges and Associates and owner of Fatima Arche Group of Consultancy Services. In 2009, I graduated from the University of Belize with a bachelor's degree in accounting. And I'm very grateful that Social Security had given me the opportunity by offering me a scholarship to pursue my career.
I am Renata Samuels. I am the Year Report Coordinator for the Department of Youth Services. I received the Social Security Scholarship for high school in 2010. Upon receiving it, I was beyond happy, thankful, and super relieved to know that I relieved my mom from the financial constraint of having to pay for my high school. It actually pushed me to work even harder to know that I am deserving of this scholarship. I implore others, apply for this scholarship. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain, as well as being one step closer to your own dreams.
The Social Security Board is committed to providing educational opportunities to persons on a mission to improve their lives and communities.
2020 taught us the importance of being connected to the virtual world, and NextGen is here to keep its commitment to you. Even if you're physically apart, NextGen keeps you digitally connected.
Okay everyone, thank you for following me today.
NextGen provides more than just an internet plan. They provide service plans that support all your online needs. Sign up today and get your NextGen's ultra high-speed internet service. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
Hola, Tony.
Hey, Kevin, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasa?
Nada, le vine a buscar porque necesito comprar más mercancías de vasos y platos desechables para mi tienda de comestible. Me estoy quedando sin esas cosas.
No, hombre, fíjate que desde el 15 de abril no puedo importar nada de eso. Y se me acaba de terminar todo lo que tenía hace como 3 semanas.
Oye, pero nunca has estado sin esas cosas. ¿Qué está pasando?
Mira esto. Esta es la nueva ley que prohíbe todo el uso de plásticos no reutilizables. Esos son vasos, platos, cucharas, tenedores, todo eso. Desde 15 de abril de este año no he podido importar nada de eso. A partir del 15 de enero del 2021 nadie puede fabricarlo. 15 de abril 2021 nadie lo puede vender. Y a partir del 14 de julio del 2021 si alguien te agarra con eso, te multan.
Híjole, no sabía eso. Necesito cambiar algunas cosas. Les diré a mis clientes por qué esas cosas ya no están disponibles. Gracias, Antonio.
Así es, cuídate, man.
We're back and we're moving into our final conversation for today, where we are joined by recent recipient of a Taiwanese scholarship, Damari Tessicum. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Marlene.
It is so lovely to see you again, Damari. How are you doing?
Thank you. I am doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, you're in Corozal right now?
No, I am at home in San Jose Village or in Joac District.
Okay. So, Damari, let's just step back and help people learn a bit more about you, because it'll really put into perspective just how big this achievement is as well. Tell us about your story.
So in 2010, I was electrocuted and I received extensive burn wounds all over my body. I had second and third degree burns, and I had to be taken to the US for further treatment. There I lost a leg, my left leg, and a finger. And after that, I had to receive extensive therapy. And after 4 months, I came back home. And a couple years after, I was featured in News 5. It was a great opportunity for me.
Yeah. Damari, I remember your story, and in fact, the burn care unit was instrumental in getting you out to Shriners. You spoke of the pain and just kind of the loss you experienced with that incident of being electrocuted. It's now 11 years later.
Yes.
You know, when you look back to how far you've come, tell us a bit about what you have been up to.
Well, after I finished my high school, I furthered my studies and I went to sixth form. And after I graduated, I continued my education and I did my undergrad, and I graduated with a bachelor's degree. And after obtaining that degree, I have always had the dream of becoming a doctor. And I found out about this scholarship that was being offered for Belizeans, and I applied. And I was fortunate enough and blessed to be one of the recipients.
Now you have overcome, I mean, challenges that none of us would dare to imagine, from dealing with the severity of the burns, the recovery, adjusting to a new life with disability, or with different ability, I should say. All of this has been a process. What do you think is the driver behind your determination to still continue on the path for your career?
Well, I remember when you interviewed me and you asked me that same question, and I told you that I can do everything through Christ who strengthens me. And that has been my motto ever since. And I believe that He has been the one who gives me the courage and the strength to continue my life as any other one. And I think that another part of that motivation is my family. They have given me the strength, the motivation, that push for me to continue on whatever I want to do. They don't see me as a disabled person. They see me for my capacity, for my abilities, and they push me to do that. And I just trust in them. They trust in me, and we're a team, and that's how we have been working. And that's how, fundamentally, it has been God and my family.
And what inspired you to pursue this particular field of study?
Well, this is a funny story. Before I was conceived, my parents prayed for me, and they had always asked God for me to become a doctor. But it was when I was 4 years old. You know, in school, in primary school, they have this career day, open day, and they asked me what I wanted to be and to dress whatever you see yourself in the future. And I dressed as a doctor. And I had always had that dream of becoming a doctor. But when I had my accident, that's when I definitely knew for a fact that is definitely what I want to do, and specifically a plastic surgeon, a reconstructive plastic surgeon. So that dream has been coming from ever since, and I never stopped. I continue pushing for that.
So it must feel really great to actually be, you know, such a big step closer to, you know, your childhood dream.
Yes, it has been definitely.
You know, when you've had such a life-changing experience as you have, and both in just how traumatic it is, but also how it's physically changed what used to be your capacity before. You know, it's very easy to be tied to just that one thing. How do you put it into perspective? Is this kind of the experience that shapes who Damari is today, or is that just an obstacle on the path?
I believe that everything happens for a purpose, and everything that we go through somehow shapes us, changes us, and it depends on the person, on how you want that, or what effect you want that to have on you. You want to be a better person, you want to have a positive effect in your life, and I think I try my best to look at the things in a positive manner, in a way that will help me become a better person. And that has always been my perspective on everything and on life.
In this era where, and especially in Belize, where inclusive education there are instances where people with disabilities are in school. You know, we have children who are blind, children who can't hear, children with physical disabilities, but it's not as common. Tell me about, you know, moving into getting your higher education, and what it's been like when people realize that in fact, you know, you are wearing a prosthetic, or that you have lost a limb.
Thank you for asking that question, because it is very important. After my accident, I went back to Escuela Mexico. That's where I did my high school.
Yeah.
And I remember that the school did an amazing job accommodating me. For a Fort Farmer, all the classes were upstairs. But when I went there, all the sidewalks were fixed to accommodate to my needs, and all the classrooms were on the lower floor, so that I don't have to go up the stairs. So they did an excellent job trying to accommodate according to my needs. When I went to sixth form, I did have that struggle, because most of my classes were upstairs, and there were days that my classes were upstairs and downstairs. So I would have to go up the stairs every day, sometimes 3-4 times a day. I would have to go up that stairs, up and down. And it was a struggle, because it can be very tiresome for me. I have an above knee leg amputation, and the prosthetic has its weight. So it was very difficult, but I had to push on. I wanted to succeed, so I had to do what I had to do. The accommodation wasn't there. The school did not do that fixing for me. When I went to do my bachelor's degree, it was, again, another challenge. I remember that they asked, you know, do you have any disability? Do you need any accommodation? And I filled out all the forms. I had to get the doctor to say that, in fact, I am a disabled person and that I need the accommodations. And I sent it to the school. And to my knowledge, everything was set that I was going to go to the school, I would get the accommodation I needed. But surprisingly enough, when I got there, that was not the case. Again, my dorm was on the second floor, and there was no ladder, so I had to go, there was no elevator, so I had to go up and down that stairs. And my classes where I went to study, it was very, very hard, because the classes were on top of the mountain. So I had to go up that mountain with my prosthetic. And I remember after 1 year being there, my prosthetic was very damaged, because I had a lot of, I used it a lot, and it was difficult, very difficult. And it didn't matter how much I asked to get the accommodation, it wasn't really given to me. And if I wanted certain stuff, I would have to pay for it, or I would have to get it myself. It was very difficult. And that definitely affected a lot during my academic time there, because you have to adjust to the difficulty, the lack of accessibility, and at the same time, you have to focus on your classes, on school. So yeah. It was a struggle.
I can't imagine because it takes pushing through physical pain as well as ensuring that you can still keep up with the academics, the lessons that you're taking on. But one thing I know about you is that you are extremely determined in whatever you undertake. How does that, how does it resonate with people who go to school with you? Do you think they develop the level of empathy that they can then become agents for change for more inclusive settings?
I think there is a lot yet to get to that point. Because when I was going to Sixth Farm, I had to take the bus from San Jose to Corozal. And by the time the bus gets here in San Jose, it was full. It was filled with students. There was no space. And I would have to go standing up from here all the way to school. And that's about an hour drive, standing up, having a prosthetic. And you would think that some of the people there would empathize with me. And the thing is that sometimes there were even teachers there. There were people who had education that you would expect them to have more knowledge of people with disability, but that wasn't the case. And when I went to do my undergrad, I had 2 roommates, and it was also a difficult time because not everyone understands the needs a disabled person has. It became a little bit uncomfortable with certain situations. And you would think at that level, they would have a little bit of knowledge, of understanding, but it wasn't always the case. It has been difficult. We have progressed a lot, but there is still that space, that situation that needs to be fixed. And I have struggled with it, and I'm pretty sure that many other students who are disabled go through the same or more difficult situations. And like I said, Escuela Mexico did an amazing job accommodating for me, but I did not have that same accommodations in all the other schools that I have been.
Yeah, that's and thank you for saying it publicly, because that's the only way we can get kind of the momentum going for the type of change that is necessary. Do you think that it would in fact be something that dissuades people with disabilities from pursuing higher education?
Yes, I think it can be a hindrance because, okay, at least for me, I had my prosthetic that gives me that independence, but some people are wheelchair bound. And the situation is completely different. They cannot have that accessibility as easier as I have it. So it definitely puts an obstacle to these students with disability. They don't have that freedom. They don't feel that they would be given that opportunity because of their situation.
So let's shift gears now, and I do hope that people hear what you speak of and the experience that you've had, because you're right. Where you have the prosthetic to be able to get up and move physically, people who are bound to a wheelchair, it's a whole different situation for them as well. And there's nothing. It's not about having. I remember in school, if someone was in a wheelchair, you'd have the students lift them and take them into the classroom or up the stairs, but that's not the way that we want to go. You want to create a space where they have access. But let's talk about your journey to Taiwan now and what this represents for you pursuing your medical degree.
Sorry, repeat the question again.
I was saying your journey to Taiwan now that you have found out that you are going to be going to Taiwan. What is it like for you, and what are your hopes for when you get there?
Well, when I received the scholarship, I was very excited. I was nervous. I was scared because, again, being a disabled person, you don't always get that opportunity. So I was scared that would be a hindrance in me getting my scholarship. But when I saw my name on the list, I was very thrilled. And I said, okay, well, this is another journey that I need to embark on, and I'm ready for it. And I think that while I don't have much knowledge of Taiwan as to how it is, I think it's going to be a great experience. I think that it's going to prepare me academically to become a doctor, because I think it is important for a doctor to be acquainted with different cultures, different people, and adjust to different patients. So that definitely will boost my ability to be better at what I want to be.
And are there any or is there anything in particular about Taiwan that you're looking forward to, or that you might be nervous about?
The language.
Yep. Thought that was going to be your answer.
The language. I don't speak any Mandarin. I have no knowledge of that language, so that is the most scary part of all this.
And how's your family doing? I know you're really close with your family. They're used to you being away?
They're nervous, and they keep saying, we're gonna miss you, but they're very happy that I got this opportunity, and they just want me to succeed in everything I do. So I am very glad that they trust in me and that they push me to do what I want to do.
You know, just so you know, there's another doctor who's wheelchair bound, a Belizean as well, Dr. Einstein Bowden, who was able to get, you know about him, tell me.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I keep in touch with him. He actually was one of my mentors through this application process.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I met, well, he was just Einstein then, before he was Dr. Bowden in Trinidad, and it was inspirational then, and you are going to be an inspiration for others as well. It's not just about the fact that you have a disability and you're becoming a doctor, but just that you're able to push through challenging circumstances. And in a world where, you know, things are a bit more challenging simply because it's not retrofitted to your needs.
Yeah.
What do you want, how do you share your message of inspiration with others? What do you want to say to people who watch this and say, wow, look what she's done?
Well, first of all, keep God in your life. I think that has always been the reason why I succeed at everything I do, because God has been everything for me, and He has given me the ability to do things that I never thought I would be able to do. But also, trust in yourself. If you have a dream, pursue it. It doesn't matter if you have a disability, just give it a try. You will never know what doors will open. You don't know what you will be able to accomplish if you don't try. So do what you want to do and pursue it, and always believe in yourself, and always have a support group behind you to motivate you, to encourage you. And again, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you.
Oh. Well, Damari, when do you head off to Taiwan?
We don't have the exact dates as yet. We don't know. I haven't been informed of that.
Okay. Well, we are glad we got to talk to you and just hear about what this latest accomplishment means for you. Definitely proud and looking forward to the day you come back as a doctor.
Thank you.
All right. Best of luck and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
All right. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take our final break. And when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up. So stay tuned.
Hola, Tony.
Hey, Kevin, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasa?
Nada, le vine a buscar porque necesito comprar más mercancías de vasos y platos desechables para mi tienda de comestible. Me estoy quedando sin esas cosas.
No, hombre, fíjate que desde el 15 de abril no puedo importar nada de eso. Y se me acaba de terminar todo lo que tenía hace como 3 semanas.
Oye, pero nunca has estado sin esas cosas. ¿Qué está pasando?
Mira esto. Esa es la nueva ley que prohíbe todo el uso de plásticos no reutilizables. Esos son vasos, platos, cucharas, tenedores, todo eso. Desde 15 de abril de este año no he podido importar nada de eso. A partir del 15 de enero del 2021 nadie puede fabricarlo. 15 de abril 2021 nadie lo puede vender. Y a partir del 14 de julio del 2021, si alguien te agarra con eso, te multan.
Híjole, no sabía eso. Necesito cambiar algunas cosas. Les diré a mis clientes por qué esas cosas ya no están disponibles. Gracias, Antonio.
Así es, cuídate, man.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
It's a fact that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime. While with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited plans beat the competition. Stop being measured and told when to use your data and get unlimited talk, text, and data. Experience the true unlimited plans with Smart. That's a fact. Make the switch and live smart.
And we're back.
And we are just getting our show wrapped up, and we want to say thanks to all our guests. We had a lot of interesting conversations this morning. We started off talking with the representatives from the National Committee for Families and Children, and they talked all about their men's talk, which was held last week, exploring a lot of the issues that men are facing in society and perhaps solutions to fix some of the problems as we look forward. So we want to say thank you to Arthur and Eli for shedding some light on that.
You know, we had a conversation, I think, a few weeks ago with representatives of another male group through the Spotlight Initiative, and it really is great. I have to say, and as much as I am an advocate for women's empowerment, it is important that we're able to balance out and ensure that men still have role models and a safe space to be able to discuss. And I always remember having conversations with representatives of the Women's Department or Women's Commission over the years. And it's always something where people ask them, oh, what are you going to do for men?
Mm-hmm.
But it's, and I've always thought that it's just one of those things that why isn't it men stepping forward to lead men? And we're seeing it now.
Yeah.
And so society, as much as we have our challenges, we can recognize where we are expanding our views of how we see genders and the stereotypes that we've held them to for a very long time. And that's the case for women, and that's the case for men. And so it really is encouraging to hear the conversation this morning and know that we are getting our own movement started here so that, one, men can recognize that they have a role far beyond just being a provider, that they're absolutely essential as parents, and that even in legislation, we are catching up and being able to ensure equal protection and opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that, you know, once progress and move closer to gender equality is the main goal. And, you know, you're absolutely right in saying that, you know, we can't reach that, we can't achieve that unless, you know, the playing field is level, and that has to come with, you know, changing a lot of what the rules and you know, social, you know, mores are in society, and you know, everybody's role or everybody's adapting to all their changing rules, and we don't want anybody to get left behind, and we definitely want to break some of those destructive or behaviors that have caused so much issues and continue to. So it's definitely a great and encouraging conversation as you know, as we move forward.
Absolutely.
And
then speaking of women empowerment,
yep,
I
that's what I was
cannot
gonna
be
go.
more proud of. Listen, you know, I've been to some of these villages in the South, and you know, they have been able to live for a really long time. Communities have built themselves and grown without access to some of the utilities that we get to enjoy from our birth here in some of the urban areas. And the fact that you have people from right within the community, stay-at-home moms, single moms, caretakers, who travel to India, learn the expertise to install solar panels, and then go into their very same communities and electrify these villages that for all these years have lived without it. It is, I mean, it's an amazing story. I do want to say kudos, of course. There is an organization that was involved, Plenty Belize, or Plenty International Belize, Mark Miller, who's been working in the South for a long time. And of course, the ministry was also involved in getting the solar panels as well. So they have recently completed electrifying Machakilha, and of course, next up is Grand Creek.
Yeah, and of course we wish them, you know, the best of luck as they continue their initiatives, and hopefully this is, you know, just the beginning. Not just for those three ladies, but you know, just more communities in the South, more indigenous communities, and you know, more development that will see an improvement in the lives of all of these people and communities. So it's a great, it's definitely, it's a great story, and we definitely want to thank them for coming in and sharing some of their story.
We worked very hard to get that one, because man, the Wi-Fi was, at one point I think they had to connect to the Guatemalan provider because it was so difficult. But that shows the remoteness, and it shows the lack of access, which is actually beyond just being funny. It's a critical part in ensuring that everyone, we talked about equality in the first part, it's the same thing. You know, Belizeans across the country should have access throughout.
Yeah, and I think that it's really great to see, you know, as you said, it coming from within their own community. I think that's probably the favorite part, and it's something that you wouldn't necessarily expect. I think their story went international and received a lot of attention like that. So I hope that the progress continues.
Of course. And then to catch up with Damari Tesikum, who is now going to be moving on to Taiwan to become a medical doctor. Damari's story is amazing. I mean, if you go back into the archives and you see of how serious her burn injuries were, she had lost a family member. They were adjusting an antenna, and they were both electrocuted. The other family member lost their life. She had, you know, severe burns all over her body and had to be rushed out and did months of treatment at Shriners Hospital. And to see her now just moving ahead with life and pursuing those goals and doing so with the disability that the burns have left her with, it's just an inspirational story.
It is, absolutely. And I do also like that she did shed some light on some of the difficulties that disabled people do experience, whether it's in education or whether it's just having access to a lot of, you know, the places or the services that we all do. It's important to always, as a reminder, that we want to strive to be as inclusive as possible and to make sure that we can accommodate people with all the varying types of disabilities, because it does make it does make lives so much more difficult when those sort of adaptations aren't made. Sometimes it can be as easy as having a door, doors that push rather than ones that you have to open with with the turn of the wrist. Ramps, building ramps. Sometimes you don't even have to, depending on the layout of, let's say, if it's your own establishment, sometimes you don't even need stairs to be built. You can just do a ramp and everybody can access rather than, just, or having a separate facility that
and what she said was so true.
Yeah.
Because she acknowledges that the fact that she has a prosthetic leg, which she is able to walk up steps with and move around with, that already gives her a bit more of an advantage. Doesn't make it easier. She still has the pain, and it comes with its challenges. But if someone was wheelchair bound, then it'd be even more difficult. So. Great eye-opening conversation there. One, in the need for us to be more dedicated towards building with inclusivity in mind in education, in other institutions, and also that no matter what obstacle is thrown your way, you can move ahead in pursuing your dreams.
Yep. But that is just about all the time we do have for you today. And if you want to contact us, you can send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OIEBelieves.
All right, and remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your heart open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Believe.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.